All right, we are live on YouTube. Moda Ani, how grateful we are, Lifanecha, before you, Holy One, that we just get to be here, that we woke up this morning, that we are present. This morning, we turn to page 190 and recite our blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehitatech b'tzitzit. Amen. Matovu, how good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. For more than a year now, I've been saying that this prayer has a whole new meaning this year, that we get to be in our dwelling places, and we really turned prayer space into a whole new definition. We made all of our spaces, wherever we were, wherever we are, holy. And now all the more so now that some folks are in our sanctuary, some folks are in their homes, we can join together and we are a holy community. Page 192. Page 195, our morning liturgy invites us to wake up through all of our senses, first noticing the world and the space around us, the holiness that's in that space, and then we bring our attention to our physical bodies, the vessels that brought us to prayer this morning. No matter how we're feeling, whether some things aren't working as great as we would want, or we're just starting to wake up, it is still a miracle. It is still a blessing that our bodies worked well enough to get us here. So we read together, page 195. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. shifting from our physical bodies to the holiness that they contain. Elohai neshama shenatata bi, God, the soul that you have given us is pure. We connect on Shabbat every week to our breath, that source of divine life given to us in that last act of creation. So I want to invite you to just take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Once we awaken, noticing our space, our bodies, ourselves, our presence, we are ready to celebrate, to praise, using whatever instruments in our repertoire. Psalm 150 goes through all of the instruments that the ancients used in their worship. A drum, a lyre, a harp. Maybe we don't have these instruments today. There's actually a midrash that after the temple was destroyed, all of these instruments used in temple times were actually lost. Some say they went up and are hanging in the trees by the waters of Babylon. And so every once in a while, we need to just look up and notice. But we don't have those same instruments. But what we do have, the last line of this psalm, Kol HaNeshama, every soul, that is the most important instrument in our repertoire, our own unique voices. We'll join together Psalm 150. 6. We rise, if we're able, for our Baruch. Page 228, we read together in English. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy, you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom, you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. We continue with our Shema, page 132 or 232, depending if you have the small or large book. We continue with our V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol yodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevalecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letosafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lahem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Enet. Page 239, we read responsively. The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else. May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice. Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore. You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your hearts. Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asks God. Praise to God Most High. Page 240, our Michamocha. Page 242, we rise for our Amidah. Adonai sefatitita, uvia mitenilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Yivotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak,
scrolling. Page 248. Nekadesh Shimcha Haolam, Keshem Shmatishim Oto Vishnei Maron, Kakatu Ayad Nebiecha, Dekarav Zel Zel Behamar, Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh, Adonai Tzevaot.
Can be seated. Yismechu. We are joyous, certainly a joyous morning today, as we get to have again our multi-access services joining together wherever we feel safe and comfortable, celebrating the joy of Shabbat. Page 252, we read together. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. So now we come to our hoda'ah, our blessing of Thanksgiving. And I want to invite folks, we'll start with those seated in our sanctuary, and then we'll invite you on Zoom to unmute and share your voices, because like I said, you are on the bima with us and your voices are being broadcast as well. So we'll start with those in our room. What are we feeling thankful for? I'll stay up here so I can echo it so that folks on Zoom can hear.
I'm thankful that we were able to come today.
And the way we here set up so nicely. Yes, we're also grateful. Amazing. Getting to get away and spend time with friends. Nice. Anything else?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see my brother the first time too. And yesterday we picked out flowers and put the fruit in it. It was like September.
I got to see so many things. So I got to see brothers, seeing family, picking out flowers for upcoming simchas. Oh, daughter got engaged! Amazing. I'm gonna turn our camera so we can see folks in our congregation, maybe. Oh, friend's daughter celebrating 50th birthday. Sorry. Okay, let's see, who else? Anybody else? Anything they're feeling grateful for? Folks on Zoom. Let's see. Mary Lou.
I'm grateful for this beautiful, beautiful morning. I'm grateful for the technology to allow all of us to be together on this lovely Shabbat. I'm grateful for you, Rabbi Pinsky, and Cantor Noni, Rabbi Hoover. I'm grateful for Bashert and to be part of all of this. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? I can't tell who is unmuted, so please just go ahead and speak. I don't know, Robert, Joel, we can't see the unmute icon on the screen, but if anybody has something, please chime in. We can also, I'll invite people on Zoom to share in the chat. So people said, grateful, Rob said, grateful for a clean subway and grateful for visiting Opa. Mike Rose, hello. All right, folks, so Stan.
I am grateful and thankful for my family, for my family's backing, for our good health, as well as our improving good health for those in the family who are improving. Thank you, Baruch Hashem.
Great, thank you. All right, well, I see more participants. Patricia, beautiful.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yes, I'm very grateful that we're here this morning, that we can hear you from Zoom, and hope everybody be well and stay safe.
Beautiful,
Baruch
thank
Hashem.
you. Great. Well, for all of our blessings, we give thanks. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. We take just a few moments for a silent prayer. page 260, 261. For those of us with Sidurim in hand, I invite you to turn to page 362 and rise as we open the Ark. It's been a very long time since we got to do this, friends, for our Torah service. Page 364. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav. As an abundance of safety precautions, we are not going to do a hakafa around the sanctuary, but we'll still sing those words together. Lecha Adonai Hagidula v'hagivura v'hatiferet v'hanetza v'hahod ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'amit naseh lechol rosh. And now we get to do the very holy act of fitting the Torah on the lectern with the computer. So 1 second, and then I'll close the Ark. And I'll fix. All right, folks can be seated while we re-plug in our friends so we can see them. If you're on Zoom, when we moved the computer, it jiggled the cord, and so we're just making sure we can get you back on our screen with everybody. One second. All right, well, folks on Zoom, you can still see us, right? Yeah, okay.
Correct.
All right. So folks in the room, we're just not going to see them for a couple moments, like maybe when we move the laptop again, it'll help. All right, so I'll undress our Torah. There we go. Got them back. A Torah service and Zooming is not a thing they teach you in seminary, friends, but we've got this. I know. I think so. We'll write to HUC and tell them that this is a suggested addition. So this morning we are reading from Parshat Ekev, the third Torah portion in the book of Deuteronomy. The Israelites have been wandering. They are on the brink of the promised land. And Moses is, of course, continuing his speech, his instructions to the Israelites. So I want to go ahead and invite everyone who is in our sanctuary, if you are able to rise to take part in leading this aliyah for us this morning, page 368. We'll do it all together. And folks on Zoom, you are welcome and invited to join in as well. Baruch et Adonai Hamborah, Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bafar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen. You can be seated just for comfort's sake. Amen. Ekev tishme'un et hamishpatim ha'eleh ushmartem ve'asitem ve'haya otam v'shamar Adonai Elohecha lecha et habrit ve'et hachesed asher nishba le'avotecha ve'achecha uverchecha ve'hirbacha uvirach peri v'tincha uferi adamatcha degancha v'tirshecha v'yitzharcha shigar alafecha ve'asitrot zonecha al ha'adama asher nishba le'avotecha latet lecha baruch tihyeh mikol ha'amim lo yiyeh becha akar ve'akara uvevim cheta v'chesir Adonai mimcha kol koli v'chol madvei mitzrayim hara'im asher yadata lo yesimam bach v'natnam b'chol sonecha ve'achalta et kol ha'amim asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha lo tachus einecha alehem ve'lo ta'avot et Elohechem ki mokesh hu lach. Join again for our closing blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Notein HaTorah. Amen. So this week's Torah portion, feel free to have a seat. Parshat Eikev, the third Torah portion in the book of Deuteronomy. So we are on the brink of entering the promised land. At this point, Moses knows that he is not going to actually be able to step foot into the promised land with the community he's been leading. And so he's giving them instructions. I think one of the things I want to look at this morning, the way that this Torah portion starts, Eikev, Daya Eikev. So this means in our translation, and then it happens. But the literal way that we can look at Vehaya Eikev is, and it was on the heel. Eikev is our Hebrew word for heel. The way that Hebrew works, it's a magical language. Every Hebrew word has a root that talks about its meaning. And so the root in our word Eikev has to do with heel. Does anyone recognize this root from anywhere else? Yaakov. Okay, it's great. So Jacob's name, Yaakov's name. So here we are starting our Torah portion that says, and then it happened that this and this and this. And Moses goes on to instruct his people. Last night I spoke about how this is a beautiful passage where we get the impetus, the first words that lead to our Birkat Hamazon, our blessing after the meal. And we also, further along in our Torah portion, get instructions that show up again in our V'ahavta, Vishinantam Livanecha, that you should teach all of these words and teach all of these lessons to your children. So when we look at this Torah portion, it starts, V'haya Eikev, and then it happened. It was on the heels of the stuff before that now we're going to get ready and we're going to instruct you, how do you go about life in the future? How do you raise the next generations? How do you educate your children who are going to be growing up in this promised land? So first, I think it's beautiful. There are many words in Torah that can let us say, and then it happened, and after that, this happened. This is the only time that we get this grammatical structure in Torah, V'haya Eikev. It was on the heels of what came before. And I think it's exactly, I said, what was that root? And people said, Yaakov, Jacob. I think that this is very intentional, my friends. We are in this instruction, Moses is telling people how to live, but he's recalling Jacob first. Why do you think we might have a little nod to Jacob where we are in our Torah portion? Folks on Zoom, feel free to unmute and raise your hands if you want to chime in. Folks in our room, why do you think, why would we use this language that just brings us right back to thinking about Jacob? Jacob is generations gone at this point. Any thoughts? Yeah, Pam. Nice. Pam said Jacob was like the dreamer of Israel. Okay, so dreaming of the future. Yes, Tamara.
Jacob originally went to new land with his family.
Nice. Okay, so in Jacob's history, Jacob was, one of the original wanderers, right? It all started with Abraham, but Jacob made his way to a new land, a land that he didn't know. He went into the unknown, very much like our Israelites are doing now. Yeah. Well, his brother Joseph was certainly involved in his story, right? So Jacob, when he was in Egypt, or son, yeah. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so Jacob went to Egypt, and that kind of began the Egypt narrative. And now we're coming to a close, right? We have been in the wilderness, we have been wandering, and now finally it's taken generations and generations and years of wandering, but finally we're gonna make it to the desert.
Was Jacob enslaved by Egyptians in Egypt or no?
So Jacob, when he got to Egypt, first he was kind of imprisoned, but then he became the right hand to Pharaoh, right? So things were actually quite, Joseph, sorry. So Jacob, yes. Jacob goes, no, so this is kind of before that. So Jacob and the patriarchs go to Egypt, and there's a Pharaoh who's actually okay to them. And then once Joseph comes around, pardon me, thank you, then we have a new Pharaoh rise up at the beginning of Exodus. That's who enslaves the people. We can talk about the history a little later after services, but let's jump back into this. So, all right, amazing ideas. Jacob started out this Egypt narrative, maybe it's a completion. So we start by rooting ourselves in the past. We have to remember where we come from. And then we shift in our Torah portion and we get to Vishinantam Livanecha. You should teach these rules to your children. Moses himself is speaking on behalf of the future generations and what's going to happen in the land of Canaan. But we know other content in this Torah portion says, yes, we have to remember the past, and we have to remember the past exactly in order to look to the future and imagine and dream. But then we get to the present in our Torah portion, right? It's not just about what happened then and what's happening next, but we also have to recognize the blessings of right now. This is where we get to the blessings over food, that when we're satisfied, we always have to remember to be grateful. So I think that in just really one word of our Torah portion, we are getting a lesson on how to live the entire span of our lives. Yes, we focus on what's going on with ourselves, but we always have to remember what came before. We always have to remember the struggles and the blessings and our lives before. And we always need to think about the future, especially think about it. The Israelites have been wandering in the desert. They have not experienced a life of freedom. This is the generation that has gone from Egypt. All of the people who lived and experienced Egyptian slavery, they aren't actually making it into the promised land. They had to have new generations of their family because God wanted people to start off on a totally clean slate, to start off free. And God said that nobody who experienced slavery should go into this new land. We should start, and everyone should know what it is to feel these blessings of freedom. And so we project forward. No matter how bad things are in our lives, no matter what's going on, the Israelites, remember, these are exactly the people who have been complaining to God for years and years, decades, generations. They've been in the wilderness. It's like too easy, almost too striking how much this wilderness narrative resonates these days, right? Think back to almost 2 years ago. Yes, we could always talk about the wilderness. We could talk about the constraints and the constrictions in our lives. But friends, just take a moment and think about where you are right now, how you are feeling. What is one of your own experiences of the wilderness? What is one way? We don't have to share it, but just come up with it in your mind. What is one way that you are feeling restrictions, constraint, mitzrayim right now? And now I want you to think back. Think back before the pandemic. What were those things in your life that you took for granted, that were regular and everyday, and that maybe you don't have those things or don't get to experience them. Maybe that's what's contributing to the narrowness.
When I was out west in the wilderness, I was a teenager, in town in South Colesburg, and there was no pandemic back then. And you had to wear masks, there was no distancing, you could take make guys in the wilderness.
Yeah, there.
And it was I was a teenager, I had to order, my father was always there to give me money and I would go into Monticello, I would take a cab into Monticello one night and go into one of the
Yeah.
towns.
So there was a lot of freedom that we used to experience. So I want you to think about a world in the future. We don't know how long our wilderness is, but we do know eventually we're going to get to a promised land. So what is one of those things that in the past, that you were on the heels of, that was a feeling of expansiveness that maybe you didn't recognize, maybe you took it for granted, something that you don't have so much today. And I want you to think about, how is it going to feel to have that experience back, whatever it is, if it's seeing someone, if it's going somewhere, if it's doing something, whatever that experience is, I want you to think about one word. How is it going to feel for you looking at that future? Just one word. And folks on Zoom, if you want to type in the chat, just when you think about leaving Mitzrayim, leaving the desert, leaving the narrowness, and opening back up, what is one word that comes to mind that you think of? So we'll start in here. What's one word? Yeah.
Exhilarating.
Exhilarating. Cautious. Freedom. Hopeful. Hopeful, same word. Anybody on Zoom can type into the chat, or you can unmute. Yeah, Jan.
Who?
Yeah, we can hear you too. Go for it. Jane, we can hear you.
Okay. Euphoric. Euphoric. EUPHORIC.
Euphoria. Ooh, nice. Thank you. I'm looking over here, but that's because you're on the screen. So, anybody else? A word? Just think relief and release. So friends, we know that we are still deep in the midst of this thing, this wilderness of ours. And we don't have an exact timeline, and that can make things difficult. But just as the Israelites wandered and had to trust that someday they were going to make it. Someday the promised land was coming, that expanse, that openness, that freedom. We too know that one day we're going to get there. We don't know what's going to happen, but one lesson, and I think by using the words, V'hayat Ekev, it happened on the heels of this to start our Torah portion. It's a reminder, even when we're feeling down, that we can look back. We can look back on joys from our past to help us think about what are joys coming in the future. We might not get to experience all of those things right now, but nothing is lost forever. We have ways to remember, even loved ones whom we've lost. Jacob, for example. At this point, Jacob, his bones are being carried with the Israelite community to make it into the promised land, to then be buried in the promised land. And so we keep his memory, all of the blessings. Jacob is a reminder of struggle, right? Yaakov, he's born, holding onto the heel of his brother Esau. And then who does Jacob become? Who does Yaakov become? Israel, Yisrael, to struggle with the divine. Really, to struggle and triumph is in that word Yisra. So in the midst of our struggle, we always remember Jacob, Yaakov, Yisrael. We remember that ultimately Jacob, he struggles, he wrestles. What happens after he's done wrestling with the angel? He gets a blessing. And so for all of us, we always have blessings in our lives. They might come out of the biggest struggles, but if we root ourselves in our past and we look forward to the future, then we can bring a little bit more joy, more hope, more euphoria, more freedom to our present. So I hope that we can bring these things with us, even in the moments, the darkest moments, to be able to have those blessings, the blessings of the people of Israel, of our community. The other meaning of Israel is all of us. We are all part of this legacy. We are all part of this promise. So with our Torah, every time I move, the zoomies go away. Hold on. I'm going to pull them back up. Bear with me 1 second, because we want to share the Misha Beirach list for them, and we have to have them on the screen. Well, friends, in the presence of our Sefer Torah, we'll see, we turn our thoughts to those in need of healing, healing of mind, body, and spirit. Perfect. And give me just 1 second so I can share our Misha Beirach list with our Zoomers. All right. So we turn our thoughts to those in our community in need of healing, healing of mind, body, and spirit. This week, our Beshert community is thinking of and praying for healing for Jesse Sakharoff, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Patty Ann Cabero, Ellen Volofsky, Rabbi Dara Lerner, Susan Sisler, Alan Freemer, George Landberg, Susan Bilecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Randall Rose, Barbara Weiner, Andy Glansman, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Ira and Deanna Roth, Roz Borenstein, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicky Lightnaker, Sarah Brooks Kamen, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Roz Solomon, Linda Kushner Silverman, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Judge Milton Platt, Thea Platt Glasser, Sandra and Jay Pastor, Mitchell Pastor, Laura Stanley, Roberta Hyreth, Elaine Sarfati, Richard Zagam, David Mouser, Hannah Paines, Stuart Armstrong, Margot Zitten, Cindy Ritagliata, Gary Pepperman, Elliot Drucker, Ted and Albert Galerter, Rosa Gordon, Sarah Braver, Claire Semmel, James Scarpula, Norman Steinberg, Kennedy O'Brien, and Myron Jacobson. For those who put names in our chat, Sarah West, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Abraham Khaleesi, Jimmy Jenkins, Chanel Camabach, Doreen Williams, John Carfisi, Bruce Greenstein, Joe Oliva, St. Vincent, the women in the St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Jamaica, Guyana, Israel, and India. I'll invite those in our room to share names. And if anyone on Zoom wants to unmute, anyone else in our sanctuary, any other names for those on Zoom, please unmute and share. Mary Lou.
Ron Cricky, Laura Cricky, Susan and Tony Vi, Art Torres and the Torres family, Jeannie and Larry Green, Brenda McVasey, Brenda Katroser, Zizi Potsdam, and Eve Heyman. Thank you.
Thank you. We continue with our Misha Berach, page 371. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishepera imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue singing Vizot HaTorah, bottom of page 370, as we dress our Torah. Vizot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael, al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Keep giving that me goon, because we've got a minute up here. Page 374, singing Eitz Chaim as we return our Torah to the ark. Eitz Chaim lemata zikimba betonecha meushtar derachecha darkenoam bevoletivotecha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai elecha benashuva atishyameinu kekedem. We remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 586. Aleinu L'Shabeach l'Adon HaKol, Lateit Gedula Yotzer Breshit, Shel Hu Notei Shamayim v'Yosef
Be seated.
So at this time, we have a few announcements. Is anyone here on in the congregation's behalf that wants to give announcements? Yeah. All right, so a few announcements coming up. Ellen.
On the 14th, on August 14th, open mic.
August 14th, Saturday, August 14th, open mic in person at the synagogue, supposed to be outside. Are we still taking signups and acts? If you want to be involved in open mic, please be in touch. So open mic, anybody, it's kind of a Beshert talent extravaganza. If you have something you want to share, any skill, a song, an act, a story, whatever you would like to do within reason, our mic is open for participation. We need people to sign up, so please, and all right. We can, well, if we have acts to talk about, we can figure that out later and ask Ellen. And other announcements, so Torah study continues at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. Pam. Honey from the Heart fundraiser is still going on. If you have not ordered your honey, do it. We all want a sweet Rosh Hashanah. What? It ends Friday. Last chance to get honey. So 2 more multi-access services. So a chance to either join from Zoom or in person. 1, August 13th on Friday night. And August 21st for a Saturday morning. Right into Slicha. And then, yeah, I mean, we're in Elul very soon. Do we have a baseball announcement?
Well, anybody
all right, so tickets for a baseball game, which is happening when?
Sunday,
August 8th. All right.
I need to get a meeting number for Zoom.
Okay, yes, we'll talk about any Zoom logistics after. All right, my friends. So I think that is all of our announcements. A lot going on. You can always check our Beshert website and Facebook page to keep up to date. And if you have a talent to share, we very much invite you to join us for our Beshert open mic. So at this time, we think of loved ones who are no longer with us, those whom we've lost at this time in seasons past, or in recent days, the last 30 days, a period of Shloshim, or the last week, a period of Shiva. Our Beshert community is lovingly remembering Suzanne Leknos, Shirley Kofker, Lillian Ridley, Thomas Marinin, Meg Goldate, Marguerite Romeo, John Young, Isadora Frost, Fred Perlman, Bob Ira Kleinberg, Dorothea Schuring, Peter Brandenberger, Lloyd Ricketts, Ellie Heimlich, Sherry Burns, Terry Singer, Henry Kuhn, Lily Zimmett, Bob Perlman, Ira Berkowitz, Bayumi Muhammad, Amy Zisovic, Mary Holland, Dorothy Webster, Robert Allen Santos Sr., Robert Bonenfant, Barry Strumpf, Judy Epstein, Dorothy Mason, Judy Panzer, Barry Wine, Charlotte Brown, David Schachter, Douglas Maines, Devorah Lewis, Tahia Sapir, Jane Evans, Rabbi Laura Jonathan Sachs, Ruth Rubin, Harris Reese, Emerson Berger, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Caroline McNamara, Marion McGivney, Ronnie Turek, Jay Roseman, Michaela Schaefer. We are also observing the yard sites of Alphonse Belmont, the uncle of Lori Pandolfo, Carol Brandt, cousin of Tamara Kerner, Lena Glansman, grandmother of Pam Glansman, Zissel Plotniski, grandfather of Judge Milton Platt, Miriam Rose, grandmother of Mike Rose, Samuel Schenker, father of Lester Schenker, Louis Schwartzman, uncle of Ruth Levine, and Claire Strauss, grandmother of Jeremy Brown. For anyone on Zoom, I'll invite you to type names into the chat or unmute and share just a moment after those in our sanctuary.
My cousin made by and my aunt Gloria Friedman.
Lily Richard Richard Lily, Nancy Frost daughter.
Nancy Frost daughter.
Yeah.
Lillian.
Harry Berkeley, Ronald Sally, Berkeley, he said, and there's somebody on the York side list, I had no idea she was a member of this congregation. Her name was Regina Dexter, and Regina and I, otherwise known as Reggie, worked in Kansas Sussex together for many. It was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Anybody else in our sanctuary? So for those names in the chat, Minerva Horn and Francis Perricone, does anybody want to unmute on Zoom and share names? So we join together page 598 for Kaddish Yatom, rising according to your own custom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma tivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevarach le'alam hulalmei almaya, yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemei, Kudasha, Barichu, Le'elam, Yinko, Birchata, Bashirata, Tush Bechata, Benechemata, Dam, Yiran, Bialma, Bimru, Amen. Yehe, Shlama, Rabba, Min Shemaya, Vechayim, Aleinu, Bial Kol Yisrael, Bimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Bial Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. May the memory of all of our loved ones be for a blessing. For our closing song, we'll continue with these words, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, may the one who creates peace in the heavens make peace for all of us, for all the dwellers of the earth, for all the people in our communities. Moment of blessing. Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God be kind and gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May you feel a divine presence with you always. And may you feel peace, shalom, and shlemut, completion and wholeness. Shabbat shalom, everybody. If you're on Zoom, please unmute and schmooze a little bit.
Joe, when is the next Brotherhood meeting?
Next Brotherhood meeting?
Next, is there one in August?
No, there's no
Services
August.
August 13th and 21st are the multi-access services.
Thank you, Joe.
Welcome.
I think I see Prima, Debbie, and Frank Gonzalez in shul.
I think you're right. I saw them too, Stan. Look at that.
I forgot I was unmuted.
See that?
I'm telling Terry who I'm seeing there.
That's
Is
all
that
right.
Frank? Is that Frank Gonzalez?
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight, Harold told
Yeah.
me. So, yeah. Look at the.
Good Shabbos, everybody. I'm out of here.
Good Shabbos. Say hello to Terry, too.
Shabbat shalom to
I will.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat shalom,
Good Shabbos.
everybody. Hi, Joel.
Unless
Yes,
they
good
left
morning.
already, there's not that many people, right?
Look at
How
that.
many were there?
That looks like Beverly. Yeah, Beverly.
I was
Samantha.
thinking that was Beverly too, but I wasn't. Is that Beverly?
Yeah, it looks like Beverly, doesn't it?
Glasses.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Prima.
Yes, Debbie.
Is that Debbie with the blue?
Right. Frank.
Is that Frank with the blue hat?
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight, apparently.
Oh, I'm looking at him from behind, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Where's Freema?
She's in the services, Mary Lou.
He's on
I'm
the
looking to
left.
see. I'm looking to
She's,
see which.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see where she is.
She's probably near Debbie.
Yeah, she's walking now, and she's talking to the rabbi with her arms on the.
Thank you.
There
I
she
see.
is, the white sweater next to Debbie in the blue dress.
Thank
Where
you
the
very
rabbi
much.
is.
I see her
Yeah.
now. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
People might be out of the frame, like we don't see
Yeah,
them.
true.
Anyway, well, have a good Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
All right.
Too,
I'm
Lori,
gonna go.
enjoy. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. That was a great
Shabbat shalom.
service. I'm so grateful to be able to worship
I'm
all of
glad
us.
you're here, Mary Lou. Good.
What-
Welcome.
What's that?
I said, I'm glad you're here.
Thank
Great.
you.
It's great
It's
to see you.
mutual. It's
Take
good
care.
to see you. All right, ladies, take care now.
Take care. Have a good day.
Shabbat shalom. Have a good
Shabbat
week.
shalom.
See you at the yoga, maybe.
Okay, I'll see you at yoga.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you on Monday at yoga. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Bye-bye.
We got a little bigger.
Bye, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, bye.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
can you help me get a Zoom number?
Hold on one second. Let me shut this down.